Oh, it's doing it. There we go.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, this is Dee with Unplug, Grieve, Ministries podcast. And today we're featuring a wonderful young man who's given us his experience, his knowledge, and his skills about how to give men the support that men need, because a lot of times they do hold things back because they have a fear of letting it out. And Tony's here to help you as a father or a husband or boyfriend, an uncle, a cousin, a friend, even if you're a wife and a mother. I think this will really, really benefit all of us to be here. So Tony's going to be here with us. He's going to speak for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And at the end, we'll do a discussion and see where this goes. So Tony, I'm glad you joined us, and I look forward to when you give us all these new knowledge and skills to help us to be better in dealing with our grief.
Yeah. How you doing, Dee? It's a pleasure to be on the show, and I'm just honored to be able to share my experience with people and share my knowledge and maybe help someone change their mind about what their perception is about support, and especially about what their perception is about being a man. Especially when you're going through loss. I'd like to create space for men to be able to express themselves as men and what we're going through, that be free about that, and also to be supported by other men, who have walked that path, right? And, have struggled through it, but actually found ways of getting through it and became healthier, better men for themselves, for their families, their friends. Their communication lines have opened up more as they've gone through that process.
What I have noticed, and you probably have too, and I don't know whether you experienced this or not, but from the research that I have done and studies that I've done is about grief, I see that a lot of times, this is really overflowing. All right, you just keep going.
All right.
Just keep talking.
Yeah, well, you was discussing statistics, and pretty sure I know the direction it was kind of going in, because I was just talking to somebody about it not too long ago. Why is there not a lot of information when it comes down to men in grief? It's because it doesn't end the way that most people think it is, and what most people see, they just write off as what they see. When men go through grief, we usually contain it. We don't say anything. We don't talk about it. As someone told me a long time ago, we just find other things to do. And that phrase right there just never set right with me. So what is it that we find to do? Well, a lot of times what I find within the statistics, when you see a man, and it starts off and you start to see that wave of loss and grief and trauma that happens to it, a lot of times the ending point is either homelessness or suicides. So they never fill in the gaps. What actually happens? And as a man who has reached that point and been there and wanted to give up on life, I was going, wow, that is the reason why. It's because what other people see is not what, it's just perceived differently. Our grief looks totally different. You see the anger, you see the irritability, you see the addiction, you see the isolation. And most of all, you see the men out there on the streets that are homeless, right? And then you hear about, the worst of all, the suicides. It's through the roof. And I don't think anybody really put two and two together. I was going, whoa, this is the reason why. So I've been trying to fill in those gaps and trying to help people understand, like, hey, when we don't know how to process our emotions and things like that, and we hold it back, we develop an attitude. We don't want to talk, because once someone tells us they don't want to hear what we have to say or make us feel as if we as if they don't want to be around us or anything like that, the first thing that we do is clam up. We choose to deal with it on our own, right? And eventually it does come out. It manifests itself in different ways. So, when I see a person out there on the street, my first question is, how did you get here? And what can we do to help guide you in a different direction to get you back up on your feet? And a lot of times it stems from, childhood trauma. A lot of times, those things are stemmed from losses that, most people tell us to man up about, right? Or,
Right.
when we talk about families and spouses and things like that, it's just a mess, because when we take on a role and we're trying to process the same things that you're going through, and we get told these things, as crazy as it sounds, it becomes personal. It's like, okay, I don't trust you. And why would I want to say anything to you when you just pretty much just blew me off? So when you point out those things, we feel as if we don't have anyone. We feel as if, we're fighting this battle alone, and not knowing that the next man that you run across is doing the same exact thing. But instead of reaching out to that individual, because of what we've been taught, of what a supposed man is supposed to be, it's done long-term damage.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I'm glad you are bringing that up, because society, unfortunately, teaches us, and especially men, you're a man, you can't cry. It makes you look like a little woodsy.
Right,
But the thing is, people need to understand that God created your emotions for a reason.
right.
And you talked about the addictions earlier,
Mm-hmm.
which may be related to homeless. Sometimes, yes, or they became homeless because of their addictions. But I also believe that the addictions is because they feel the need to numb that pain
Right,
that they're going through. They don't want to deal with it. So give me something to block it so I don't have to worry about. But they don't realize at the same time why they're trying to block that with addictions, but they don't realize seeing their behavior.
right. And it's because it's the most men will look at the situation, will think about reaching out, and will actually consciously tell ourselves, no one cares. No one cares what we go through. That's what we get. That's the way that we feel about it,
Society.
because that's the way society treats us. No one
Yes.
cares. Why should I pick up the phone and call anyone? This is the reason why we fight these battles alone. Because for one, when you're trying to talk to another man about something that's going on in your life, a lot of things go into play there. And you may get that one friend that be like, no, man, you know what I'm saying? Sit down, let's talk. But a lot of times your friends will be like, oh, you know what? I hear what you're saying right now, but let's go do this. They're constantly trying to avert it, right?
Yes.
And they're trying to not have that conversation, because again, no one cares. Or at least that's what we tell ourselves. But I don't think it's being handled. I don't think it's being handled in the right way.
I think also society tells you no one cares.
Right.
And maybe, I'm not saying all parents were like this, but you might even have parents that mistreated you, abused you mentally, emotionally, physically,
Mm-hmm.
and probably brainwashed you to think no one cares. And it's sad that they don't see it. And it may be because we are taught by influence. So sometimes we learn our behavior from our parents or grandparents. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we say, well, they can do it, why can't I do it?
Right.
They got away with it. Why can't I get away with it?
And you're absolutely right. A lot of that does come down the line, right? A lot of those conversations do come into play. So you have to look at where you're at in that family. You have to be more self-aware. You have to be mindful of those incidents that are leading up to where you are at that moment. So when we talk about our parents, we cannot blame them for what they were never taught. They did the best that they could with what they had to work with, right? So,
Yes.
I mean, they didn't know the difference between, abuse and discipline, but as we get older, we start looking at all these things. Now look at your average person. The average male before the age of 8 years old will be molested they'll be molested by someone that's close to the family or in the family.
Yes.
And it goes unheard, right? It goes unheard because when a young man goes to another man and tells him that, depending on the mindset and depending on the individual, the words that you hear, that doesn't happen to young boys. Boy, you go on outside and play and stop doing that, because no one wants to face that fact. But if it was a woman, a younger girl doing that, oh, everybody got to get up. We got to go take care of this. And so it's lopsided. So since a very young age, it's been lopsided.
Yes.
The things that we go through, the same exact things, but then we're blown off because it doesn't happen to men. We're supposed to be young boys.
I agree.
So
yes.
yeah, so
I agree.
it's we can't blame the parents for raising us the way that they did. We have to take responsibility and understand that, okay, we can't change it, but we do have to heal from it. And a lot of times that is where the hard work comes in. And when you get told that you're broken all your whole entire life, because now you're acting out your emotions, you tend to believe that you're broken. You no longer look for those healing aspects, those different areas that can help you. You're no longer looking for people that are walking the same path because you feel like that you're alone, or that's what you feel. You're not looking to reach out to anybody because you don't want nobody to know what's going on, because you don't want them to judge you, right? You don't want people to say, oh, you weak, or oh, this person did this to you, oh, you must be this, or you must be that. And for a man, that's a lot, especially when you're trying to function in society.
Their expectations.
Yes, it's very high expectations. And like you said, we were all born with emotions. And for some odd reason, we're taught to suppress ours.
Yes.
And women are taught to express theirs. And so when I engage with men, I go in with the mindful aspect of it. I'm in that moment with that individual, because as a man who has had to walk that walk, I've had to hold space for myself. There was a lot of truths that I had to go back into, and I fought myself for so long. And then finally I said, oh no, this is not working. I'm going to have to do something different, or the next time I attempt to take my life, I'm for certain that I'm going to succeed, right? And so that's where that journey comes in. And it started with the one simple thing that I got rid of. I stopped calling myself broken. I'm not broken. I'm not a thing. If I break a bone, I can go to the hospital and get it branded. That's broken, right? If I go out there and break a window, I can call a handyman to come fix a window. I can call a handyman or somebody to come fix a plumbing. But when you're talking about human beings, you're hurt and you need to heal. And if you've never experienced or even thought about anything like that, would you search for it? No, you're going to search for different alternatives that make you numb that reality. But once you start searching for those paths of healing, things will start to unveil themselves. So as I hold space with these men as they're going through these hard moments, it reveals it. Grief is just, it's a layer it's something that's being triggered by something else.
Yes.
Grief is the reaction from that. And that's your body's way of saying, hey, you might have to come back in here because we have some work to do. And when you live in this part of in this much of your body, the rest of your body don't get the attention that it needs. So you go on automatic. You dive into your work, you dive into whatever you're doing just to keep yourself busy, because that's the body, right? And then you start to feel like you start to think yourself into a depression. You could think yourself into a lot of things, some really, really destructive behaviors. And they're normally behaviors that we think are healthy in the moment until that eventually catches up as well.
And it's also the accountability.
Right.
Being accounted for your own behavior, because maybe your behavior is not what your parents taught you, but it was something that you chose to do or
Hmm.
chose to be. So be accountable for that. And like you said, you realize when the first thing you realize, I am not a broken person.
No.
So you had to change that mindset to put yourself in a better situation. That way, now you're in a new situation. You beginning to clearly see, oh, okay, this is what I need to change. But you do
Hmm.
it in baby steps because you don't want to end up going downfall. But
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. That's one of the things I've also been teaching. That is because men do have a thing of holding things back.
Yes.
I don't know why.
Well, it's a
And I'm
natural
stuck.
response. It's a
Yeah,
natural reaction to what's going on around us, right? Because when you get told so many times, hey, you got to keep your head up and keep moving forward. Well, that's the only thing that you're focused on. I can't focus on this over here because it's going to do something. So I
yes,
instead of addressing this problem or this situation, I need to keep my head up and keep moving forward because that is what is expected from me. That is
yes,
exactly what is expected from me. Or I'm expected to man up, right? And I hear so many people say, oh, I want a healthy relationship, with someone and this and another. Well, the relationships that you get into aren't going to be healthy, especially when you live the toxic life. You still carry that with you, and
yes,
if it goes undressed, well, it just spills over into everything else. And a lot of times that becomes your normal, because when you live in a world of just being defensive all the time and things like that, when you get into those relationships that feel good and everything, well, you go and result to doing what you were doing before, and that's just naturally how it's built up, because no one said,
yes.
hey, you may need someone to talk to, or they don't have anyone around them that can go to them and say, hey man, if ever you need to talk, it would be my honor to sit down with you, just so you can start coming to the realization of what you're actually going through, you know and that makes a huge difference.
Yes. Wow. So tell us, you wrote a book, yes?
I'm in the process of writing a book.
Okay, good. But you also started a support group for men, right?
Yes.
So tell us more about your support group.
Okay, well, Memories of Us is that we're a nonprofit dedicated to giving support to men that are struggling with loss. Um, we have great facilitators that are there to hold space with these men. Our support groups are now virtual, um, just to reach more people across the world, to more men across the world, to provide a space for us to be able to come together and go, man, I'm not okay today, right? We offer those accountability partners where once you get into the group and you've been there for a while and you're comfortable with the setting, you can have someone, you can actually connect with some of the men in there, and they become your accountability partners. That means that you have a different alternative on those really dark days. And I love to say moments, but and sometimes they do come in moments, but we want to make sure that you have somebody available for you 24 hours a day. We
Do you
offer
have a website?
one-on-ones. Huh?
You have a website?
Yeah, yeah. People can actually go to the website and check out what we do, and the resources, which is www.memories2.org. And we have resources from across the world, from the UK, Canada, you name it. We have a bunch of resources for people. We do workshops where we come together and explore different ways of getting that grief out. So we may have a workshop one day doing art, and the men can bring in a comfort at our own home. They can just get the supplies, and we just go there and we just throw on some music and just allow our grief to flow onto the paper. And once you get into it, once you let your grief take over and do something like that, it creates something different. it's something that you can look back on and be able to distinguish what you're feeling in that moment as you're doing it, right? We do other workshops where, we're bringing experts in, and we have conversations, and they share tools with us, and we implement those tools in breakout rooms, and see how we can implement those things in our day-to-day travels or our day-to-day lives, things like that. We work with other therapy groups, and we have access to counselors, so all of these men in the groups that come in there, we all get it. We know how hard it is to ask for help. And so we meet people where they are. If you come to the group and you don't want to say anything, that's fine. We don't care, as long as you showed up. You show up the second time, hey man, even better. We're not going to pressure you, because some people aren't ready for all of that.
Yes.
And so, eventually over time, when you see so many men start to open up about what's going on, you eventually open up, right? We have manuals and guides for men to where, it's universal. You can look at it and you can fill it out, and you can come up with a plan for either a month, 2 months, 6 months, or a year about how you want to address these things that are coming up. We have people in place, so if something was to happen, say for instance you hit a trigger or something, we have lines, and we have crisis lines in place, just so that when you call, someone's going to pick up on the other end, a real person, because we all know how that feels. We all know we know what it's like to feel ashamed. We know what it's like, to fall on hardships. I've been through it all. I was that guy. So everything that I put into these groups is the same things that I've gone through. And I just found a way to walk out of it. Well, not really walk out of it. It kind of turned me around a little bit, and I kind of fell out of it. But, it made me better in the long run, because it's become a journey of mine. It's become a mission of mine to connect with more men and say, hey man, I'm just like you, like you're not. And most men will go, well, just like me. Like, yeah, man, I know what it's like to be okay too, and once you say that, is a different sort of meaning when you say that to a man, because it makes more sense. And then once they realize that, hey, where you're coming from is a place of empathy and understanding, it opens up the doors for better conversations, deeper conversations, And as we start to take that journey, it's a backwards motion for in a lot of cases, and men and women, that when you start the healing process, it unveils other things. And then you have to be truthful with yourself. Like, did this really happen to me? You have to, if you keep making bad decisions, ask yourself, why you keep making these bad decisions? It unveils all of these things that most people look past.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I just applaud how you managed to get yourself out of that dark hole and find the light, and then use that light to help someone else. Have you ever heard of oh no, my mind just went blank on his name. I mentioned it in my promotion. Anyway, one of the things that he said was, because he's a motivator speaker, he was saying, in order for us to have a good reap, we had to have good soil.
Right.
In order to have to plant seeds, you need that good soil. But when you have good soil and good seed, then you're gonna have a good reaping. Yes. It will flow. And it's like the one step at a time, having somebody there, even if you don't know what to say or do, like you said, just be present.
Right.
Because that atmosphere now has changed. And it may be at first uncomfortable, but I can guarantee that uncomfortableness is going to change into your greatest comfort.
Yep, and you're absolutely right. But now, to add to that, you have to ask, what does your comfort zone look like? If you're
Yes.
someone who's lived a life of trauma and things like that, that's going to be a comfort zone in a strange sense, right? Because you're constantly going to seek that. You're constantly going to surround yourself with people who are going through those same things, have the same viewpoints as you. And those are people that are going to keep you exactly where you are, because they don't want to have to face the truth of, I can change, right? There's something other than this out there. So you have to lend a helping hand to show someone that, hey, there's another way. There's a better way to heal, and it's not this right here. And so you have to step outside of that comfort zone. You have to look at that comfort zone, look at them, and then you slowly surround this individual with people that want to see them healthy.
Yes.
And once you do that, you're not really forcing it. What you're doing is that you're giving them a different view of what life can be. And I was one of the fortunate ones. I had this vision of what I wanted my life to be. And that began the journey of me coming out of that dark place. Because before, when I wanted to give up, I was like, I've gone through, I don't want to do it. I said, I don't want to do it anymore. And I found a comfortable place in that darkness. And I had no intentions of coming out, right? But I knew deep down inside, there was something else outside of there. So it's that want, right? I want to come out of this. I just don't know how. And then life taught me. It gave me challenges. It gave me wisdom, and it still gives me lessons that I can learn from as I still, as I'm outside of the dark place now. But those lessons have become ways of, oh, wow, someone else, I don't think anybody thought about this. This is a vital part of my healing, right? So finding people that talk to me in different languages. And what I mean by that, you have your verbal language, which is your communication, but we can also hide those things, but also surrounding people that talk to me in my love language as well, or encourage that.
Yes, I agree. I had to turn off my camera because I keep running to the bathroom and I just figured out I needed to turn the water off. So I had to switch the water off.
No
so
worries.
I'm like here, no. I've never had an issue like this before. But for some reason, this toilet, ever since I moved here, this toilet's always had some stupidity problem with it.
Sounds like you got something down in your pipes.
Yeah, I think they need to come with the snake.
Yeah.
Because the plunger's not doing anything. But anyway, thank you so much, Tony. Repeat your website again.
Yeah, it's www.memories2.org.
Okay. I want to thank you so much for being here and presenting this, because this is absolutely one of the things that I'm trying to steer. Now I know that you are there and what you guys do, I can steer these men towards your website.
Yeah, most
so
definitely.
I'm gonna somehow put your website up for men who's grieving, so that they can go and get the proper help through you.
And they can also connect with me on my social media, my Facebook page, because I do have a private group for men there, and it's just the Memories of Us page. They can connect with me there, connect with the other men there as well. And as we go into February, we will start, we're going to restart our virtual groups. So, and those are free to attend. So that they can also connect with me over there.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to somehow, quote unquote, this is in air quotes, and it's in a good way, go to your website, and I might steal something to put it on my website, so with the link, so that they can click it and go to your website.
Yeah,
because this is exactly what I want to thank you so much. I want to reschedule you to come back maybe on a new topic that's related to this,
Okay.
that may be able to continue to encourage men to also continue in education to help them understand their grief. Because a lot of times, even when we're going through our grief,
Hmm.
there's that underlying issues that would pop up that
Oh yeah.
also causes your grief to slowly or not go away.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes it's a matter of talking out the underlying issues.
Oh yeah.
So to help you push that grief, because I know men has I shouldn't say all men. Most men have a thing where they do plug it in. They don't, because they've always been taught it's not. That's not bad. It's okay. It's not bad. You're doing okay. And
Yeah.
instead of being there to allow that child to grieve or to do what they need, now they're boiling it, boiling it, boiling it. And then, the grief keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger
Yeah.
because nobody's helping them.
Oh yeah.
And I do believe that addictions to either alcohol or drugs is their way of numbing that pain, trying to find a way to numb that grief, especially men with PTSD. They want to numb it because they don't want to deal with it.
Right.
So now I am so glad I found you, and I'm so glad that I brought you on here, because now I'm going to take what you have, put it on my website, hyperlink it so man can just kink and take it to you. And from there, you guys can help men, because I think for me, it's easier to help women than it is to help men.
It's definitely a lot easier, and as a man, I try not to jump in when it comes to consulting women, because when we talk about grief, and it's nothing against women, it's just that, when it comes to grief, I'm better with men, because
Yes.
when I have tried to consult with women, and it's the same thing that I keep saying. If you're going to spend so much time with me, you're going to open up, you're going to be vulnerable, and you're going to share this information with me. My job, my job is real simple. My job is just to be here with you and everything. And it can be misconstrued. It can definitely be misconstrued. So it is definitely easier to talk to women, but it's a road that, kind of misunderstood in my aspect of it,
Wow. Yes, yes, yes. So I'm going to reschedule you to come back maybe in a couple of months,
Okay.
and let's see. All I can do is pray that maybe that this will open some eyes and hearts, and that they would realize, yes, something's wrong. I need to go talk to somebody.
Yes. And
Whether it's a coach, whether it's a trusted friend, or
mhm.
even if it's a licensed therapist, once you talk about it, when you leave that room, whoever it was you talked to, you're going to feel some of that burden roll off.
Right. Right. A lot of it is being around people who have walked that walk.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to men are not going to talk to people who have not had that experience before, because when I look for help and everything like that, I was looking for someone who had similar experiences, because
Yes.
I didn't know. I wanted to learn from them. How did you get through this? And I didn't have that mentorship. I didn't have someone that I could call and actually understood what I was going through. So I literally had to figure it out as I went. And I'm glad that I did, because I've done the work. I've done the work. I've done the work so the next man don't have to struggle the way that I did. And I made it real simple. We set up real simple steps. We encourage each other. We talk life over each other, but most of all, it's a brotherhood. As they say in the Bible, iron sharpens iron. Well, we have that same philosophy in a group, except for men sharpen men. It takes a man to understand a man, and it also takes a man to help another man heal once that man is healed.
Yes.
So it's all about the men in that group. being open and being truthful and authentic with themselves and understanding that, hey, we're here for you. We're not asking you to come up to the level that we are, because most of us had years and years of experience. Hell, I'm still learning, right? But I've gotten a lot further than what I was the first time. So the next person that is walking that path, I want to be able to go up to them and go, hey, man, you don't have to do this alone. The road, this is a long, hard road. I've walked that road before. I would be honored if you would let me walk with you and be there with you as you figure it out. I don't want you to feel like that you have to do the work on your own. I want to be there.
And you see, it's people like you and organizations like you that I believe, honestly, that God sent. God allowed you to have that experience because he knew that one day you would be in where you are and what you're doing to help someone else. So you're like one of his angels. You are God sent. You're God bless you. You keep doing what you're doing. I'm telling you, God is going to pour favor on you and your organization. And you're going to be big enough to help not just a small group, but like you said, a group that goes national or international.
But that's our goal. That is definitely our goal. And I think last year we started making international connections. We started working with a few other organizations that are starting to pop up across the United States as well. And so it makes it a lot easier to, if you're in Chicago and you come to one of those groups, the chances of you meeting someone from a different organization that is in that group from Chicago, the chances are up there are real high. And so it makes it easier for that individual to be able to go, oh, there's somebody here in my city. I just don't have to depend on this right here. And connecting them with them, man, that's what it's all about. It's all about connecting other grief networks so we can have a bigger impact into this world, because in the time of COVID, we need all the help that we can get, the grief workers, the death doulas, the grief coaches, all of us, we all just need to get together. And so therefore we can have a better impact. Working together is just a beautiful thing, right? I always felt that there was no reason why someone couldn't come to my website and find resources that he otherwise wouldn't have, a long time ago. You should be able to work with each other. We should be able to build a better grief network for our communities. Our communities deserve it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Because I can feel, not just from my church family, but from people I know around me, I can feel that resistance. That I remember the first time I set up my booth at my church and we were trying to do a workshop to bring people in. Mm-hmm. And it was so, I hate to say this, but it was funny to see the reactions on their face and them running from it. And I'm thinking, oh, somebody that has an issue they don't want to talk about.
Exactly.
It's easier for them to hide it than to talk about it.
Exactly.
Or to come and learn how they can deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the resistance, even with society, the resistance, because society has taught everybody about grief in one way. Mm-hmm. But yet not until you experience that grief, whatever that loss may be, you will begin to think, but why were we taught this? Why were we told this? You will learn in your journey what will help you and what is best for you. Right. Society is not always right. A lot of times I find a lot of things they say and a lot of things they do is incorrect.
You got to ask yourself too, right? And here's the hardest thing for people to do. What is easier for a person to say? I'm okay. I'll be all right. I'll get through it. Or I'm struggling and I need help. As simple as that is the hardest thing for a person to admit, is that you need help and you need someone to talk to. It's easier to come up with excuses because then you don't have to face the fact of, hey, there may be something going on with you. Maybe there's some truths that you may have to come to, because if you've hidden those truths for years and years on end, and you finally have to go and face those truths, it changes your whole dynamic of what life is. That means you don't have anything, you don't have no more excuses anymore. You don't have nothing that that's holding you back, except for you.
That's right. That's where the challenge comes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, man. You know, but
Yeah.
you know, honestly, I wouldn't trade what I do for the world. I really wouldn't. It's like, you know, I live a life of servitude. Through my pain, I want to help someone else heal. You know, through the tragedies that I've had to endure, I want to teach others and hand that down to someone else so they can hand it to someone else in that same situation, because
Exactly.
it's bigger than me. When I started Memories of Us, I just wanted it to be local, you know, and that didn't work. You know, I had all of these things that I wanted to do to help people address these traumas that go on in our lives, right? And have groups in place to help you deal with these things. And life came back and said, nope, we're going to have to start all over again. But now that we started all over again, I have to show you why. And that's when I started going, okay, I have to be better for myself if I'm going to be better for someone else. And so with that same concept and that same push,
it's changing that mindset.
It's changing the mindset.
Have to change that mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I had to get out of my own way. I had to get out of that hard masculine way of saying, you know what, I'm stronger than this. You know, I met my match. When I lost my son, I met my match. It was like, oh no, what am I supposed to do now? My reality has changed, you know, in ways that I couldn't even explain to people, but not in bad ways, right? Because it brought up my trauma. It brought up my past, some things that I had to address to be a better man, right? Because I had to start healing from inside out. That's where the work comes in. And then I had to take that and I had to formulate it in a way to where it made sense.
Yes.
There's that light, right? Okay, so now that I'm looking at it from this way, I wonder, you know, I started telling myself, I said, well, you know, if we're going to stay local, then there's no sense of doing, you know, B, C, D, and E, and F. You know, we're just going to stay local. Then one thing led to another. Someone saw me on social media and was like, hey, I want to form a partnership with you, which that began my expansion. And like I said, we started expanding internationally. We started working with groups from over there. And we have people from the United States now that have access to these tools from people in the UK.
Yes.
You know, and it may be someone that specializes in something that maybe this person don't do over here. And to me, that's the best feeling in the world, to be able to provide that sort of support for the men in our community, because it helps knock that wall down, those stigmas around grief and mental health and all of these things. And it's helping men look and go, see, the addiction wasn't the problem. The addiction was my release.
Yes.
From the true problem that I was having.
Yes.
So now that we're back in this reality, I no longer need the addiction, because now I understand that there's more men out there that are doing the same thing.
Yes.
So you reach out and you touch the next man, and you tell that next man, say, hey, I see you, brother. I hear what you're going through. And that man don't have to say nothing. It's because now you have a sort of bond with this individual, a sort of relation with this individual, where you can walk up to that person and go, hey man, I see what you're doing. You know, if you ever need something, I would love to sit down and talk with you. It may be, you know, it'll be a little bit of resistance, a little bit of pushback, but eventually, you know, when that person is going through something, and then here's what a lot of people make the get it mistaken, because they go, well, it's taking too long. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to keep moving on. Well, you move on, but you don't dismiss this individual. This individual is going to take his time, because for one, they don't really know you. And once they hit that dark moment in their life, they're going to remember you. They're going to go, it's a curiosity thing. They're going to go, man, I'm in a real bad way. I know this guy told me that he did this and this and this, you know. I'm just going to pick up the phone and call him just to see. And then from there,
Baby steps.
yeah, it's the baby steps. You have to take the baby steps. And, you know, it sounds crazy when you talk about the big burly man and then you talk about taking baby steps, right? Because it's like it's like setting a bull off in a china shop. We got to destroy everything. That's like, we got to destroy everything. Well, what happens when you destroy everything? Guess what? That's your grief. That grief is going to destroy everything. And now you're going to have to go in there when you get ready to start to slowly but surely clean this mess up. The mess is you, but there's a different version of you, and the pieces that you're sweeping up just shook off because you didn't need them anymore. You know, and it's the transformation. It's the transformation of letting go who you thought that you were supposed to be, and embracing the things that's going to make you healthy and become a better individual.
Amen. Amen. You know, I can hear that compassion that you have in your voice, not just what you're sharing with us, but I can tell even when you were in your darkness, somehow God still planted that seed of compassion in you. And that compassion, once you begin to open up and grow as an individual, your compassion became deepened. And you want to share that compassion of not only helping others, but bringing the light to them so that they can help others as well. That's that light that God has given you. And that's the light and the compassion and what you're doing is the gift that God has given you to do. I'm saying, you, Tony, you're doing a wonderful, wonderful job. Not job. Well, job is a good word, but you're doing a wonderful thing to help men, because I'm sure they feel in a lot of ways that they feel left out.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to express it. And here now we can send people to you so that they can find a way to express it safely.
Yeah, most definitely. Send them my
And
way.
unconditionally.
You know? Yeah.
Safely and unconditionally.
Unconditionally, you know, there's no strings attached. That's why we do all of our services for free. You know, that's the reason why we do it, because it's what we want to, it's our passion, it's what we want to do. And honestly, things like this that you've learned over time, going through those things, you can't take with you. It's to be shared. It's to be given away to the people that need it most, right?
Yes.
So you might as well make yourself available. You might as well, and to not to do it, to not to be able to do what I'm doing right now, you know, I would have found something similar in the same field. It's who I am, you know. I'm built to serve. It's nothing else better than that for me, you know.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
You said you lost your son.
Yes.
He passed away.
Yes.
Well, number one, I'm sorry to hear that, because I know I've lost my son too. But did you feel the compassion to do this after you lost your son or before?
Actually, it was actually after my mom passed away.
Oh, see?
Yeah, so you know, my son passed away, and the first 2 years after he passed away, I isolated. I fought what I was feeling inside because I didn't understand it, you know.
Yes.
And I just became distant from everything. So it didn't happen immediately. It really didn't happen immediately. So it was that transition of just trying to get through the day to day, you know. And I spent many a nights curled up on the floor. I spent many of days and minutes begging God to make the pain stop, you know. But I also did it in silence, right? And so I got so good at it that I was able to cover it up from people that I was around, you know, because I didn't want to be a burden. Now, you know, fast forward 2 years and 1 month after my son passed away, My mom passed away in that July 25th. She passed away from a stroke. And I was there in that. Now, that was my breaking point. I lost my son. I have no more parents. My younger brother is gone. They passed away some years ago when my son was a baby. And so when my mom passed away, I just went, I got nothing else. I have nothing else. And all of that 2 years that I kept isolated, it got worse. And then from there, it just spiraled down out of control. But that wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't a bad thing, because even though it spiraled down out of control, it put me on ground zero. And that's what I like to call that dark place. I had nowhere else to go. I couldn't go any deeper, and I didn't know how I was going to get out of here. So I had two choices. It's either I give up now, take my life, because life is not good for me right now. I'm homeless. I'm literally living in my cars on the streets, and I had lost everything. I am in a bad place. I got people coming after me. I was like, this is my escape. I was like, well, since I'm in a dark place, I might as well stay here. And lo and behold, I'm screaming out. I'm like, if you're gonna, I used to tell God, if you want me gone, here's your chance. I'm done fighting. I'm not gonna fight anymore. What I didn't understand what he was doing, he was going, no, I don't need you to fight. I need you to surrender to what I'm trying to give you.
Yes.
And that's when those lessons and things, and I started slowly but surely coming out of that dark place, and I got up to the top. And when I got up there, as weathered and as beaten as I was, I was stronger than when I first started. Like, there was something that happened. It was like I started giving myself permission to cry. I started giving myself permission to address those emotions that I was going through. And
thank you.
That's when the other side of my manhood started to show out. And it wasn't anything about what I had thought. And so, I fought with God for a very long time. I really did, because I couldn't believe that he would do this to me. And here I am by myself, and the only thing I want to do is just leave this place. I was going, I got nothing else left. I have nothing.
Tony, and I'm sure maybe you're aware of this, but I just went through something similar to that. Might have been a little bit different, but it also took 2 years before I realized that God had a different plan for me than what I had planned.
Right.
And I would have never guessed this would be what God wanted me to do.
Me neither.
But as long as I surrendered to him and I said, God, wherever you lead me, whatever you want me to do, I'm going to go, because I'm choosing you over what everybody else thinks. And do you feel that through the loss of your son and then your mother, that gave you the push to do what you're doing now?
It did.
Yes.
It did, because,
one of the things that excuse me, let me say this before I forget. One of the things I tell a lot of the parents who've lost children, and they're so angry at God, and they wonder why would God take away my child? And one of the things that I'm careful with, God did not take your child away. Death is a result of sin, and sin was created by Satan. And whatever your child went through, whether it was a suicide or drug addiction, or like my son, he had a disease, and whatever it was, there was something in that your child's life that God put into your life, because he wanted to use that child to do something for you. And even though at the moment, when we're in our deep dark grief, we can't see that, because our mind is numb, we're in shock. We're, like you said, many of us fall into that deep dark hole. We don't know how to get out of bed. We're crying all the time.
Yeah.
My thought just went blank at that point.
No, I understand where you're going. No, I definitely understand where you're going. When when I had to talk with God, I actually told him, I was like, why would you do this to me? Why? I was obedient to you. I served you. I didn't deserve this right here. And he goes, but I blessed you. I said, well, how did you
Yes.
bless me? He goes, but I blessed you.
Yes.
Let me show you how I blessed you. He goes, see,
Yes.
I gave you the opportunity that most people won't get,
Yes.
and in turn, you know what I'm saying? It's a blessing. And then I need you to understand something. They're safe here. They're okay. What
Yeah.
you're grieving is the flesh. Now, celebrate the spirit, because the spirit is not going to leave you. And I was like, well, all of that right there, you can go ahead and keep that, God, like I'm not trying to hear all of that, and it's because I was so angry with him. But in the same sense, I was seeking his love. I was seeking
Yes.
his understanding, because I couldn't understand why I had to get hurt this bad in order to do what I'm doing. And I often make the joke with him now. I go, we could have did this another way. Like, you could have gave me the knowledge, and I would have
Yes.
still done it, and it still kept all of this. He goes, but had you
Yeah.
not experienced it, would you be able
How
to
would you help
understand
others?
it in the depth that you do now? And the answer is
Yeah.
no. So when I talk to those men who have lost their child and everything, like, it's easier to say, your child's in a better place. It's easy to say, everything's going to be okay, but in reality, it's not. And I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. It is not
Exactly.
okay. You just experienced one of the worst things in your life,
Yes.
and it's going
And a
to
lot of
be
people,
hard.
and sadly and unfortunately, Tony, society does not understand that.
Right.
They don't understand that. So where
Yeah.
I was going was that, Satan may think that he's won your child's body, but what he forgets is that God is holding that soul in his arms, you know.
Oh yeah.
So and then look what you're doing. I said, you know what you can do to honor in memory of your child? Do something good to remember them by. You're angry. It's okay to be angry, and it's okay to be angry at God because it's not a sin. It's what you do with that anger. You can go and use the anger to go harm yourself or harm someone, which
Mm-hmm.
then becomes a sin. Or you can take that anger and turn it around, and do something good in his or her memory.
Right.
And
It's
I believe like what you're doing now
mm-hmm.
is you're doing it in the memory of not only your son, but your mother, your brother, whoever it may be, because you already God pulled you through this dark journey for a reason.
It's,
Remember Job? What Job went
I
through?
do. I was just thinking
See?
about Job too. I thought about him. I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
I'm
So
just thinking about Job, and you said it. I was like, man,
I
I can
think
relate to
we are,
that.
yes, I think we are all Jobs. You
Yes,
know,
in a lot of ways, aren't we?
yes. So
Yeah.
but God gave His child to you as a gift and as a blessing. He's
Yeah.
not an Indian giver. He's not going to just take your child away.
But
Grief is telling you differently.
yes. And
So
that's what
grief is
it
gonna give
taught
you
me,
different thoughts,
It's like I
huh?
made a decision when I started Memories of Us, because I had to face another reality that when I pass away, when I'm gone from this earth, there won't be no one else behind me.
Yes,
I'm the last of my bloodline. So in order for me to leave something behind that can help make the world a better place, I'd rather leave a legacy of hope and
yes,
inspiration to the next man coming up. I want to leave a place where it's better for us as men to be better men for ourselves and for our families. So it's so much bigger than that. Like I said at the beginning, this has nothing to do with me. It's so much bigger than me, right? I'm
yes,
just a person here relaying a message. That's all.
yes,
That's all I'm
yes,
doing. I am nothing special. I am a servant to my brothers, and hopefully a better educator to the women that are in the communities too, to help them connect better with their male counterparts and things like that. So it was never it was never a question of me leaving this place with the knowledge that I have. That was never a question. The agreement that I made with God is that when I leave this place, I'm going to leave on empty. So everything that people see on my social media, that's a little bit more of me that I'm putting out there.
Yes.
That's it. My goal is to empty myself out. So when I do go stand in front of my Father, I want to say that I not served you well. Is there nothing else left in me? You know, did I not give the way that you asked me to, the way that you taught me to, and did I not follow your blueprint to help others? You know, so everything I do is intentionally set up to serve, you know, no matter which in what area that is. And it's challenging, right? Because I don't go out. I don't let other people, I don't let other organizations dictate the blueprint that was set up for me to be able to do the job that I'm doing, you know, to put my work out there. As Dr. Miles Monroe used to say, it's my work. It's what I'm born to do. And I would be a fool if I didn't do it. Right. And to me, that's the most beautiful thing in the world for me.
Amen. And the fact that you surrender to him is why everything is becoming a bigger blessing for you. So, Tony, again, I want to thank you for being here. And I want to thank everybody for who might have come in or he's going to listen to this video. We hope that what Tony shared became a blessing to you, maybe helped you think a little bit more, surrender to God and let him lead you for that help. I thank everybody for being part of the Unplug Grieve Ministries podcast. And Tony, I'm going to find a way to reschedule you in because you have been a great, great blessing. And I needed to hear what you shared. And I hope that what you shared will also be a blessing to others. We actually went over the 45 minutes. So I hope this, it's still saying it's recording. So I'm hoping this will come to the end and I'm bringing you back.
All right.
We'll talk more.
Yeah, just
because
let me know.
I have a great idea. Yeah.
I'll definitely be honored. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. And hopefully I can help. Hopefully this show will actually help someone else grab the courage to want to reach out and get that support that they need as well.
Yes, I agree. So I want to thank you. You can unrecord.
Okay.